The biggest YouTuber in the world is Mr. Beast, right? I don't know, 500 million subscribers or something. I think it took him 800 videos to get 1,000 subscribers. There is a reward for being patient, and this is also why it's important to, as I said before, you really have to enjoy the process. If you're not enjoying it, you don't like what you're talking about, and you don't genuinely enjoy something, it's so much easier to be consistent. It's so much easier to just do it.
Welcome to the Tech and Tea Podcast. I'm your host, Gav Blacksburg, here today with Alex Finn, Penny 2X, and a very special guest, Zuby, joining us, Zuby Music. Super cool to have you on. We've spent some time in person before out in Vegas climbing some sand dunes. I have never seen anyone truck up a sand dune like that in my life. My heart rate was going 160, 170. This man's was at like 100. It was nuts. And he's been an inspirer on X. You have shared so many powerful messages across the board and built an amazing audience there and YouTube. So just looking forward to having you on. Welcome to the pod.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you guys inviting me.
Absolutely. So let's kick it off. I think people know about you from several different areas. Obviously, several years back, you went to England and set some records, we can say. That got you invited onto, I believe, Joe Rogan's podcast, which was a huge moment. You have really blown up from your music as well. And then your messaging on X, where you get a ton of engagement daily. Talk to me a little bit about when people ask you, what do you do? What are you known for? How do you answer it? Because I feel like there's so many external angles.
Yeah, sure thing. So if we're talking career, I'm an independent rapper, author of 2 books with a third on the way. I'm the host of a podcast which has been running for over 6 years called Real Talk with Zuby. That's a weekly podcast. Had some really big guests on there, from Elon Musk to Andrew Tate to Alex Hormozi, lots of different people from different sectors and different parts of the world. I'm also a public speaker, and I also coach people. I've done fitness coaching, I've done life coaching, and these days I predominantly do social media coaching. So that's something I kind of do a little bit behind the scenes, but I help people to grow their audiences organically and to build their engagement. Specifically on X, I've helped a lot of people gain several hundreds of thousands of followers. But yeah, those are the main things. So 5 branches: music, podcasting, public speaking, writing, and coaching.
Love it. I feel like we can all dig in right off the bat. I'll ask the first question, then go over to Alex and Penny. And I want to initially focus on that social media growth side, since that's something that we've really been focused on. A lot of people in our audiences that follow us, Alex is constantly posting about here's for small creators, how to build them, even built a SaaS for them, myself and Penny trying to highlight them as well. So let me turn it back over to you. First off, why do you think it's important that people grow an audience of social media? I assume you think it's important because you're coaching.
Mm-hmm. Well, look, we're living in an age where there are about 4 to 5 billion people actively using social media, most of them using it every day. On average, probably using it for at least 3 hours a day. Lots of people, you're talking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours per day. So if you are going to be spending 3+ hours a day on your smartphone and using social media, why not use the tool for something that benefits you? Rather than just being a drone and just being 100% pure consumption mode and allowing stuff to, just fill up your brain and waste your time. And perhaps you're entertaining yourself and, some distraction is all well and good. But if you're already going to be spending thousands and thousands of hours of your time on these platforms, then why not use it to your benefit in some way? Instead of being used by the tool, why don't you use the tool? So that's one way I think about it. Another one is that whether or not you like it, we all have a personal brand, even people who don't even think in those terms at all. If you are on the internet and you've got social media profiles and your name is out there, especially if your face is out there, then you have a personal brand to some degree. We just live in a day and an age where that's the case. By the way, this has always existed. It's just that people used to call it a reputation. And it used to be something that was more localized, more within your own geography. And now we are so interconnected as a species that, everyone, whether you like it or not, unless you just completely unplug from social media, you're already playing the game to a degree. So as I said before, if you're going to be on there, if you're already going to be spending the time, if you're already going to be having all these apps and spending all this time on your phone, why not use it in a way where you can make some type of positive impact and where you can actually help to improve not just your own life, but other people's lives. And as a byproduct of that, lo and behold, you actually find that it helps to improve your life as well. So that's the way I think of it. A lot of people complain about social media and complain about smartphones, and I fully understand that. I've been on social media for over 20 years. Trust me, I understand the pitfalls of it better than the average person, but it's here. The tech is here. It's not going anywhere. You can complain about it. You can unplug, but most people even complaining about it, they're complaining about it on social media, right? They're already plugged in. So I'm just like, look, we're here. Let's make the most of it.
Yeah, I like that. Alex, what are you thinking?
When did you discover that social media would be the driver of your business? What was kind of your wake-up call? You're like, okay, if I grow this, if I build this, this will be able to drive everything I do. This will be able to drive my rap career, coaching career, all my different drivers of revenue. What was kind of that wake-up moment?
When it happened, I've been active on social media since 2004. I've been on Facebook for over 20 years, which is insane to say. I was on MySpace from 2004. I think I set up my YouTube channel 2006 just to put up some of my early raps. I've been on Twitter, now known as X, since 2009, so 16 years. And I think I've been on Instagram since, 2011, something like that. So I'm my entire adult life, I've been on social media. Now, as a musician, I became a full-time rapper in 2011. And social media was not the main driver of what I was doing. Everything I was doing in the real world was the driver, but I was using social media to stay in touch with my fans and my supporters. So cool. I go out there and I'm promoting and I'm selling my music and I'm doing shows and everything. And it's like, okay, cool. You can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Facebook, follow me on YouTube, whatever you want when I've got an upcoming show in your city, or if you just want to check out my new music videos or whatever I'm doing. And also, I used to sell my CDs on the street hand to hand. And so I used to also use Facebook at the time predominantly to let people know where I was going to be. So I'd be like, cool, guys, I'm going to be in Manchester tomorrow. If you want to get a copy of my new album, come out to the city center, come say hello and meet me. And, I'd have, kids and adults come out specifically on those days. They were like, awesome, sweet, Zuby's going to be in town. Let's come out. I liked his last album. Let me come out and get the new one. If I was doing a gig, obviously I could sell tickets through social media, but also just let people know, cool, I'm going to be performing in Norwich. These are the details. Come out, check out the show. It wasn't until 2019 when I started my podcast and also when I released my first book, Strong Advice, my fitness book, that I actually really started to make some money directly from the internet, predominantly through the book, actually. And I was quite surprised by that. Selling music online is actually, it's actually pretty hard. I mean, I'd sold music and merchandise for more than a decade before that, but it was more of a trickle. And then actually with the book, that was when I started to make 2019. I mean, yeah, I made more money from the book than I did from music. 2020, I think I made more money from my book than I had from my previous 10 years of music combined, which is pretty insane. It's a little bit disheartening as well when you're sort of first and foremost a rapper, and then you put out a sort of fitness book as a side hustle, and that's the thing that so many people start buying and you start making money off of. But it's all a blessing. So I'd say 2019 was a major transition year. Pardon the pun. That's also when I broke the British women's deadlift record. That's also when I got invited to do Joe Rogan and the Rubin Report and Ben Shapiro show. And that's when people started to get to know me for my social commentary as well.
Let's get tactical. How'd you sell that book? How'd you make so much money on the book? What'd you do? What was the strategy?
Well, I started selling it before I'd even written it. So I've had people asking me for fitness advice in the real world and online for many, many years. I've been lifting weights for even longer than I've been rapping. I'm pretty knowledgeable about it. And so I remember I actually put up a link just saying, here's a link to pre-order. I didn't even have a name for the book. It was just Zuby's Fitness ebook. I was like, cool, this is my idea. I'm going to, at this time, maybe I had, on Twitter, maybe I had about 80,000, maybe I had about 70 to 80,000 followers at this time. And I was like, cool, here's what I'm going to do. I want to write a book, mindset, motivation, nutrition, training. I want to help people get in better shape. If you want to pre-order it and get a discount, here's the link. And I remember I want to say on the first day, I got about $1,000 worth of pre-orders.
Wow.
And I remember being confused because I was just like, what the heck? Like, I know what it takes to make $1,000 going out there and selling my CDs. You know, that's like, man, that's 100 CDs. 100 CDs, that probably means talking to at least 800 people, right? Like, I'm a street hustler. Like, I'm out there for years selling my stuff. I sold over 30,000 albums hand to hand, like one person at a time. I've spoken to over 500,000 people in person.
Are you the guy in Times Square who's shoving CDs in my face?
No, I'm way better than that. I'm way better than that. No. I don't shove things in people's faces. I know how to talk to people. And my music is actually good, and I let people hear it. I don't expect anyone to buy my music without hearing it first. So no, my tactics were not, were never aggressive, and we're never shoving anything in people's faces or trying to scam anyone or anything. I'm a professional. I was a professional then, and I still am now. But yeah, that was really how I built my following all through my 20s. Anyone who knew me prior to about 2019, they probably knew me because they met me or saw me. They either saw me perform or they bumped into me in some town or city in the UK, or perhaps even somewhere in Europe, because I've even sold my CDs in places like Berlin. And that's how they knew it. But yeah, I put up the link, and I honestly wasn't expecting much. And I think I built so much goodwill and trust with my audience already that they were just like, oh, cool. Like, Zuby's putting out some type of book. Like, sweet. I'll $20. Boom. Let's go. And then I wrote the book. I wrote the book pretty quickly. I put it out there, and it got really good feedback. And I would just, I would just post the link and occasionally run sales. And then eventually I started getting people like, hey, do you have an audiobook version of this? And I was like, no, but I was traveling at the time, and I had an opportunity to use a studio for free in Nashville. So I spoke to the guys there, and I went in one day and I recorded the audiobook, and then the audiobook was available. I sold it all through gumroad.com, by the way. Shout out to Sahil. And then I started getting people coming up to like around the time of Christmas 2019. I had people, hey, is there anywhere I can get a physical copy? I don't want an ebook. I want a physical copy. So I was like, all right, cool. Here's the link to pre-order the paperback. I got like 250 pre-orders or something like that the first time. And so, boom, I've got the money in my account. I go and I Google, okay, book printing companies in the UK. I'll find a place that can do it. I print off the 250, and by the time the books have arrived, they've already sold. So then it's just a matter of running to the post office and shipping all these books off. And I just kind of repeated that over the next couple of years. And, I managed to sell well over 10,000 copies of that first book, which was pretty crazy. The book's not even on Amazon. I just sold it through my website and through gumroad.com. But that was like my first, despite being on the internet for over 10 years prior to that, that was like my first time actually making a decent amount of money from the internet directly. And it was it was a bit strange for me. I was so used to just like the hand-to-hand exchange. Boom, there's the CD, there's the t-shirt, there's the hat, there's the cash. And I still love that. That's still my favorite way of selling. But, you got to adapt.
Between your strength book and rapping and political commentary, you kind of have like several different niches, Zuby. I'm curious, how do you think about your niche? How do you think about posting in general? Are you like just putting your thoughts out there, or are you structuring them in such a way to build your audience specifically? Like, what does a social media post mean to you, and like, what's your process of putting one out there?
I think it and I write it and I post it. That's it. I don't consider myself to have a niche. One of the most beautiful things I think I've been able to do over this course of time is to build and cultivate an audience where I have the freedom and flexibility to talk about absolutely anything I want. And it's not weird to people because my audience is used to it. So people are like, you can go and look at my tweets from today. You'll see stuff about Bitcoin, about finance, about inflation, about training, about I just put out what I want. And nothing is automated. Nothing is scheduled even. Like if I'm asleep, you're not going to see anything coming from my accounts. When I'm awake, you'll start to see stuff. So this isn't even necessarily what I recommend to people, by the way. For most people, I do think it probably makes more sense to have more of a niche. But in my case, when my audience really started to grow is not when I started to niche down, but when I started to expand out. From, let's say, 2005 to 2019, I was just a rapper. Everything I was doing, my whole social media presence, it was all just about my music, hip hop, and everything to do with my music. No social commentary, very little social commentary, certainly not wading into anything about, politics or religion or culture or anything that's even sort of remotely polarizing or anything like that. And then in late 2018, I just started to share some more of my thoughts and ideas of what was going on in the world and what I was observing in society. And it just resonated so strongly with people, again, in a way that I really did not anticipate. And I just started doing that a little bit more. And, February 26, 2019, that was when I posted the 9-second video of me, saying I identified as a woman and broke the British women's deadlift record. At the time I posted that, I had 19,000 followers on Twitter and about 50,000 combined across everything. And that thing just took off and went crazy, got millions and millions of views. It's very strange how these things happen. You work so hard for so long on something in such a focused manner, and then you put out like a flippant, silly video that you think is going to get a couple likes and retweets, and it becomes the thing that puts you on the radar of quite literally millions of people across the globe, including very prominent people from Tucker Carlson to Joe Rogan to, all the people at the Daily Wire to BBC and Sky News and all of these people. And all of a sudden you're being called in to, hey, we want to talk to you about this. We want to talk to you about that. And I'm like, I don't know how I've suddenly become the spokesperson for common sense. But if you think back, you guys have to remember, think back like 6 years ago. We're in a very different time right now where you can talk about all of these things and people are less worried about getting canceled or this or that. Like it's also on more people's radar. But early 2019, to kind of wade into that issue of, men competing in women's sports, or this idea that you can just identify as whatever you want and you're now that thing and no one is questioning it. And then there's all this weird stuff going on. I don't know, there's infinite genders and all these pronouns and so on. And I'm just looking at it like, this is completely stupid. Like, this is insane, but no one is saying it's insane. It's like this emperor's got no clothes, emperor's new clothes kind of situation. And I think by me just stepping in there and doing it in a way that was comical, but also being able to sort of articulate the deeper points behind it, it meant that the tweet itself went viral, but I was able to take advantage of the opportunities that were presented to me. So by the time that I was getting invited onto live television or some of the most listened to podcasts in the world, I was able to sit down for, whether it's 5 minutes or it's 3 hours, I can, sit there and have this conversation and be mature and emotionally regulated enough to articulate my ideas, not just on that subject, but on many others. So I think a lot of people initially discovered me through that. But then over the course of time, it was like, okay, cool. Like, this isn't just a sort of flash in the pan. This is someone who's actually interesting. He's got something behind him. And also with the body of work I had with my music and my podcast by then, and then the book, it was like, okay, cool. This isn't just, a guy who's trolling on the internet. This is someone who's got something to say. So 6+ years later, I'd like to think that I'm still relevant.
How did it affect your strategy, having put in so much effort into different things like rap or your podcast, and then have this sort of like flippant, almost humorous video be the thing that was so massively successful for you and put you on the map? Did that change the way that you think about posting?
Yes, it did. It naturally dropped me into the sociocultural political space, without it necessarily being something that I sought to do. There are a lot of people who they want to be political commentators or they want to be social commentators, and like that's really the thing that's motivating and driving them. That wasn't me. Maybe a bit like Jordan Peterson back in 2016 or 2017. You're just someone who's talking sense in the midst of a moment of cultural madness, and you kind of get pushed you become this kind of like reluctant warrior almost. And it's just like, okay, well, what's that saying? You know, if not me, then who? If not now, then, you know, if not now, then when? And so it was a little bit strange. I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. There was a part of it that was a little bit frustrating because as an artist and as a musician who's been working at it for so long, you want that to be the thing that people know you for. So initially I was a bit like, oh man, this is cool, but I'm not really, you know, I'd rather be talking about my music and my message than talking about why males shouldn't be competing in women's sports. Like, why are we even having this stupid conversation? It amazes me that in 2025, it's still going on. And I'm just like, this is insane. But then I sort of changed my philosophy around it. And I started to think, okay, if music is the front door and all these years, you know, I want people to come in through the front door. You know what? I just want them to be in the house. So whether they come in through the side door, the back door, the front door, whatever, whether you discovered me from this or from an interview or from a song or a music video or because of my book or because of a random tweet, like, you know what? I don't care. If you know who I am and you know my name and you find some value or positivity or inspiration or motivation in any aspect of what I do, then I'm happy. I'm totally okay with that. I'm fully at peace with the fact that I have millions of followers and most of them have probably never heard one of my songs, if I'm being realistic at this point. I'm okay with that. Lots of them have. There's people who like my music and they like the fitness stuff and they don't care for any of the political stuff. That's fine. There's some people, they just want to hear my takes on what's going on in society. They don't listen to the podcast. They've never heard the songs, whatever. I'm like, you know, that's fine. Some people like everything. Some people like one or two things. And I'm just like, you know what? That is completely fine. This is the Zuby buffet. You know, take the dishes that you like. And if there's something that you're not feeling or it's not helpful or it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. I'll just continue to create and put stuff out there and you can come and take what you like.
How do you think of your business versus just your reach and posting on social media? Is it like every post is in some way related to your business? Is it 10% of them? Can you talk to me a little bit about the purpose of driving revenue versus, putting out content?
Yeah, it's a good question. The truth is that it changes depending on what's going on and depending on whether or not I'm actively promoting something. So I have times where, you know, I've put out a new album or a new book or I've got new interviews and podcasts and something. There's something specifically that I want people to know about, in which case my approach becomes more, what's the word I'd say? A little more directed and intentional because I'm trying to push people towards something. But a lot of the time, I mean, I'm on social media 6 days a week. I take Sundays off, and I've been consistently posting for, 15 plus years. So on a day-to-day basis, I just try to get my message out there. You know, when I was 18, I sat down and I really thought about what my life goal was, what my purpose and intention was. And my goal and purpose back then, I said, I want to positively inspire over 1 million people through my words. I thought that I was going to just do that through the vehicle of music. Now, my mission has not changed. The number has increased because I think that 1 million, I think I'm confident to say that I've now achieved that. And so my mission is just to inspire and motivate as many millions of people around the world through my words as I can, whether that is through social media, all the platforms, video, interviews, public speaking, books, whatever else I do in the future, the mission hasn't changed. So while it might look like I have this sort of very scattershot approach and I'm in all these disconnected niches and doing all these different things, the through line through it all is actually that goal. So if you think of all the different things that I do, it's actually the same broad goal and mission and purpose behind it all. So helping somebody to get in better shape and to lose weight, or helping someone to see the world through a better lens or improve their mindset or shift their position, potentially on a different issue, or just get better at speaking, whatever it is, anything self-development related, anything that makes someone a better and a happier and a more constructive human being, whether it's physical, mental, spiritual, anything else, then that's within my remit, as long as it's something that I'm able to steer someone towards. So all the posts that I put out there, I would say that's the motive behind them. So it doesn't really matter what the topic is. The goal is always, okay, I want to make people think, for sure. I don't want to tell people what to think, but I certainly want to make people think. But I also want to encourage people. I want to inspire them. I want to motivate them. We live in such a, the world is weird. I'm not trying to get like overly philosophical, but, we do live in the world has its darkness, and it always has. You could make the case that we live in a very negative, divisive, polarizing world. I'm not even going to say time, because you could argue it's always been that way. If you look at what's coming through on the media, if you look at most of the stuff on social media, most of the stuff out there, like it's pretty negative. Like there's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of negativity, there's a lot of discouragement, there's a lot of stuff that's going to demoralize you and frustrate you and create outrage. And I've always wanted to be a light in that darkness. I mean, I'm from the world of rap and hip hop. I mean, hip hop, I love hip hop music, but I'm not going to sit here and pretend that it's exactly known for its positivity. And, there's just so much darkness and negativity and messaging that, it's just kind of beating people over the head with all this stuff all day, every day. And I'm just like, I don't want to add to that, man. Like, it doesn't mean that single thing I post is going to be like, sort of like positive in your face or contrived manner. But I think anyone who follows me on social media would associate my name with positivity, as someone who is, through all the mess, through all the sewage. You might read something or watch something, and you at least get like a little positive spark in your day. And I think that people need that, maybe now more than ever.
When did inspiring people become important for you? And like, why is that something that that's stuck with you?
Since childhood, honestly, I'd say specifically since my teenage years. Why? That's a deep question. I think to answer that, I'd have to I don't know, maybe God put it in my heart. Like, is the real answer. Maybe, I don't know exactly why that is, but it's something that's always been clear to me. To answer that really, I need to give, I guess, a bit of a religious or a faith-based answer, but I believe that I think God gives us all different combinations of talent, personality, and experiences, right? Each person is absolutely unique, right? No person has this, no one else on earth has the same combination of your personality, your background, your skill set, and your interests. And I've kind of been given this unique combination, and I've always just wanted to use that to uplift people. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a cartoonist. That was actually my goal. Like, before I got into music, I used to just draw all the time. And I wanted to do that because I wanted to, be creative, but also just bring joy and happiness into people's lives. Like, I loved watching cartoons as a kid. I still like watching certain cartoons. And it's like, cool, not everybody's creative. In fact, most people are not very creative. So if you do have the ability to draw, if you do have the ability to write songs and create music, then do something with it. Like, it's a pretty rare skill. So why not take that and create something that can bring some type of joy and hope and positivity into people's lives? There are so many artists, for all of us, I'm sure, who have, they probably don't even know that we exist, yet they've had some type of profound impact on our lives and inspired us or motivated us. It could just be getting through a gym session or a difficult run, or it could be a song that you listen to when you're feeling down, or it could just be a song that, gets you pumped up and makes you want to go out there and take on the day. And so, that's why I wanted to get into art. That's why I wanted to get into music. And with everything I do now, it's beautiful to really be clear on what your mission and purpose is. And I'm blessed to have known that for the past 20 years. I've got a lot of clarity on that. So, and as far as I'm concerned, it's still very early. I'd like to think most people that I look up to and I admire are like several decades older than me. So hopefully, Lord willing, I'll be able to do and achieve a lot more still.
You did mention the social media coaching, and I know you probably can't give away the secret sauce, but there's a lot of people that follow us that are very interested in building their audience, and I think you've made a great case for why you should build the audience. Can you give a little bit more color as to how people should build audiences?
Absolutely. Let me say one more thing on the why, actually, and I'll give you something that's tangible, which no one really thinks about. So if you are in a developed country, a Western country or any other developed country, what we've gone through over the past 15 years in terms of smartphone and social media, what's the word I'm looking for? Adoption. There are still billions of people around the world who are going to go through that over the next 10 to 15 years. All across Africa, parts of South America, many parts of Asia, places with gigantic populations where there isn't yet the broadband penetration and the smartphone usage and all of the infrastructure. All of that is still to come. So while for us, I'm sure you guys see people who are like, is it too late to build an audience on YouTube? Is it too late to build an audience? And it's just like, bro, there are billions of people who are barely even online yet. Like, they're still coming. Like, we're kind of in the first wave of this, and there are billions of people who are also going to go through this, and they're going to also be looking for information. They're going to also be looking for entertainment. And so, no, it's not too late. And you actually have it. If you've already well positioned yourself, by the time that second rush comes in, I think you're going to be in a very, very, very good position. In terms of the how, I'll tell you, I'll actually give away the biggest secret, which is not a secret. And it's going to sound really obvious once I say it, but most people don't think this way. You need to think about why people are on social media. Everyone listening, when you're spending 5, 6, 10 hours a day on social media, why are you on there? Now, unless you are an entrepreneur or somebody with something to sell or promote, there are only 2 reasons why people open YouTube, Facebook, X, Instagram, so on. Either they want to learn something or they want to be entertained. That's it. Think of it. Every single time. You could extend this to all media. Every time you turn on a television, or you open Netflix, or you open Spotify, or you open a book, it's because you want to learn something or you want to be entertained. So a lot of people ask the question of, how do I make good posts? How do I add value? How do I build a following? You do it by doing one or both of those things consistently. Now, these are giant buckets. Entertainment and information are huge buckets. Information could be teaching people anything. It could be talking about the news. It could be tutorials. It could be it could be anything that informs people. And entertainment is also a huge bucket. It doesn't mean you have to be a singer or a dancer, although you could do that. It doesn't mean you have to be a comedian, but just entertain people, create interesting conversations, inspire people, show people cool pictures, cool videos, use your words to draw them in. And that's all that it is to creating, I hate the word content because I feel like it's so overused now. It's too broad. But that's all that it is to creating good content. Like, what makes a good video? It was entertaining or informative, or both. What makes a good tweet? It was entertaining or informative, or both. What makes a good podcast? What makes a good anything? That's all it is. So if people use that conscious filter, and you're writing something, you're creating something, you're going to post something, and you just think, okay, does this meet that criteria? Sometimes someone will wonder why they're not growing, why they don't have an audience. And then, you go through their feed. I'm like, there is nothing here that is entertaining nor informative. So why would I follow this person? If someone is there and they're just putting out bad, like they're just teaching you stuff and you're just learning from, like, of course, boom, follow, subscribe. Like it's immediate. Like, oh my gosh, all of this is free. Boom, I'm hitting that. Or you're going through their page and you're laughing and you're, whether it's memes, whether it's funny videos, whatever it is, and they're just entertaining you. It's like, cool. Like I want to see more of that. I want to follow it. And despite the fact that there are over 4 billion people on social media, I would say fewer than 1% of people do this. Of all the accounts that are, think of how many people are on X, 400 million monthly active users, something like that. Out of 400 million of those accounts, how many are worth following?
Small percentage.
Maybe, let's say 10,000 maybe. Maybe there's like 10,000 accounts out of those 400 million that are perhaps worth following. Like, that's crazy. The same with YouTube. Of all the people who have YouTube accounts, I mean, what percent are even making videos, let alone how many people are making videos that are actually genuinely trying to entertain or inform people? It's a very, very tiny number. So that's really the secret. And then when beyond that, it's a matter of consistency. It's a matter of consistency and patience and engaging with people. One other thing I'd say is always remember that you're dealing with real people. It's very easy to forget on social media, both as a producer or a consumer, let's say, that you are engaging with human beings. This is one of the sort of downfalls of social media, right? I think just with the disconnection and the avatars and the fact that you're sort of typing buttons, people forget that, oh, actually, there's another human being. In fact, there could be thousands or millions of other human beings at the opposite end of that. So just keep that in mind. And I think if you keep that in mind and you use these platforms, it's called social media, and you are social, and you just help people and you're kind to people and you treat people well and you try to share information, then over the course of time, it's not going to happen immediately, but over the course of time, you'll build you'll build an audience, you'll build a reputation, you'll build trust, you'll even make friends. Gosh, the amount of friends and acquaintances that I have from social media is absolutely insane. Like it's nuts all over the freaking world. And all of that has just come from doing what I'm saying. Talking to people like human beings, trying to be informative, trying to be entertaining, sharing my ideas, my thoughts, my talents, generating interesting conversations, giving people little things to think about, little messages of encouragement, whatever it is. Honestly, there are so few people doing it, which is the mind-blowing part. We've had these apps for such a long time, and there's so few people who are sort of using them in this fashion. So if you do it, it's not too difficult to stand out. So you could pick your niche or your one or two niches. It could be fitness. It could be finances, if you're good at that. It could be travel. It could be fashion. It could be whatever your interests are. Just jump in and be informative and entertaining, and over the course of time, you will build an audience.
Do you think about the algorithm?
Go ahead, Penny.
One last quick question, and then I'll hand it over. Do you think about the algorithm at all, Zuby, or do you just sort of post your thoughts and try to make them entertaining?
I've been on social media for so long, and I've seen so many changes and iterations and shifts in the algorithm, in the layout, in the apps, in the UI, and so on. And I like to consider myself sort of platform and algorithm agnostic, because they're going to always keep changing it. And I see a lot of people who get mad and frustrated by the algorithm. Trust me, I'm mad at the YouTube algorithm right now. And so, but it's just like, you can't really control that. So yes, I think it's good to have some basic knowledge of how algorithms work. In most cases, you can substitute the word algorithm with audience, and you're probably actually being more accurate. But I don't, it's at the very, very back of my mind. Like if I have something particularly important to post and it needs to go out at I'll keep it less than the algorithm. Like I said, I think about the audience. So for example, my biggest audiences are in the USA. I live in Dubai. So as we're recording right now, it's approaching 9 p.m. for me, but I'm aware that for my friends on the East Coast of the US, it's like, early afternoon for them. For people who are in California, it's still the morning for them. So there might be something I post. I'll be conscious of the time zones, right? So I don't want to drop something really important while, most of my audience is asleep or something. But apart from that, no, I try not to think about it too much because it definitely stifles creativity, I think. And I think it causes frustration. You really have to think about consistency. I've seen, man, over the past 20 years, the amount of people I've seen burn out on social media or just quite literally become insane. It's actually quite high. This is part of the reason I take every Sunday off. So if you focus too much on the algorithm and you focus too much on the things that are also if you focus too much on numbers and analytics, it can kind of drive you crazy and you stop enjoying it because you're so focused. Oh my gosh, how come I posted this one and it only got this many impressions and this much reach and this other one got this many likes, and man, you can go really, really deep down that rabbit hole and you can quite quickly lose track of why you're here and who you're trying to help. So if I ever find that I'm not having fun, then I take a break. Like if I find I'm getting like frustrated and I'm angry and I'm just like, you know what, like I need to just close this and go live my life, go outside, go hang out with my loved ones, and then come back later. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like it's all fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. Alex, let's do one more question.
Yes, this is going to be a selfish one. I just started my YouTube a few months ago. I've been working hard. I've been my number one focus. I've gone up to 13,000 subs.
Nice.
You've been wildly successful on YouTube. You have 270,000 subscribers, which is incredible. What's the strategy? How do I grow faster?
Oh boy, man.
Tactically speaking, like tactical. I'm talking like, I try to do 2 or 3 videos a week. I focus on this. I'm talking tactical.
Man, I've had my YouTube account for 19 years and I'm still trying to work it out.
Wow. 20 years old. You're there 1 year in.
It's crazy, dude. And the thing with YouTube is they're really always like, they really change the way they do stuff pretty often. So something can be working very well for like a year or 2 years or 3 years. And then suddenly it just like no longer is working. This is why I tend to focus very much on like the core principles around the content itself. But to give you something direct, I would say, I mean, I don't know what type of videos you're posting. I would certainly say that consistency is important. For some people, consistency means posting every day. For some people, it means doing 2 videos a month. So very much depends on your type of content and the amount of production and length of video, all that kind of stuff. So there's not really a hard and fast rule there. But yeah, focus on the quality of the content and just keep upping that, and then the consistency, and then doing your best to engage with the audience. I think on YouTube it can be quite difficult actually, because it's not really a social media platform in the way that something like X or even Instagram is. It's more, I don't know, it's more of a broadcast platform than a social media platform, really. But I think through the way you're delivering the videos themselves, I find that a lot of people who do very well on YouTube, they're good at engaging. They're very good at engaging with the audience and making them feel like, I don't know, almost like they're in the room with them. Does that make sense? I haven't even.
Yeah, it does make sense. I like that.
Yeah. I feel much more confident like giving advice on, say, X than I do on YouTube, because I mean, 270,000 followers on YouTube is not bad at all. But I find it to be one of the least consistent. I find it to be like not a very consistent platform where I kind of know how things are going to do and how things are going to perform. But yeah, I mean, if you crack that, let me know what you discover, because
you feel the way about YouTube that I feel about X. So we're
yeah. yeah. I think
it feels like the thing changes every 5 days.
Yeah, it changes. They like I say, they all do. And I have 100%. I've seen so many people, even people I've worked with, even clients that I've worked with. I've seen people like just give up because they get frustrated because they have an expectation of like, oh my gosh, something I do want to reiterate on this interview is I want to remind people of how long this stuff takes. It took me 10 years to get 20,000 followers on Twitter. I started my account in 2009, and I was a rapper, and I was doing stuff. Like, I wasn't like completely some unknown entity. It took me 10 years to get to 20K on Twitter. Wow. It took me, I think that same year I hit 10,000 on YouTube, actually. I think I hit 10,000 on YouTube in 2019, 13 years. I think I hit 10,000 on Instagram that same year. So it's not linear. That's definitely something to remember. So it can seem like you're putting out videos, you're putting out posts, or you're doing stuff, and it can seem like there's almost no reaction. It can seem like you're not making progress. And that's the time where it's like, it can be this huge desert, and it can seem like, why am I even doing this? Like, what's the point? Nobody cares. Nobody is watching. And man, you can go, I don't know, man. I think, obviously we all know the biggest YouTuber in the world is Mr. Beast, right? I don't know, 500 million subscribers or something. I believe it took him, I think it took him 800 videos to get 1,000 subscribers.
Wow.
800 videos, which is insane. Like, and now he's, everyone's, oh my gosh, Mr. Beast, Mr. Beast. But do you know what I like to do? Go on some of the really big long-term YouTube channels and go on the video tab and sort it by oldest. Go to like Mr. Beast or Marcus Brownlee or like any of these like gigantic YouTubers and search by oldest. And it's quite funny because you'll see videos of them literally as children with like some dodgy, fuzzy camera. And you're just like, holy moly. Like when you see kind of how they started out and how long it took before anyone even gave a crap. By the time you discover someone or someone is quote unquote blowing up, in most cases, they've put in at least 5 years, normally closer to 10 that you'd like just completely missed. And that's just a reality. So there is a reward for being patient. And this is also why it's important to, as I said before, you really have to enjoy the process. If you're not enjoying it, or you don't like what you're talking about and you don't genuinely, if you enjoy something, it's so much easier to be consistent. It's so much easier to just do it. It's like, you guys know I'm big on the gym and getting people into training and exercise. And I often just recommend to people, like, find what you do actually enjoy. Because if every time you go to the gym or every time you're exercising, you genuinely like hate what you're doing, you hate the routine, then it's not going to work for you. If you try to do a diet and you literally hate the foods that you're eating, you're going to fall off the wagon. So you have to enjoy it and find what you can enjoy, where even if you're not getting a lot of fanfare or you're not making money or anything like that, you know that you could do this for at least several years, even if those conditions didn't change. And hopefully, if you're good enough and people care enough about what you're doing, there will come a time where suddenly, oh wow, people start to care. And then you get that, eventually you get that hockey stick situation where, you keep planting all these seeds and you keep watering and it seems like nothing is happening. And then boom, at some point, all of it starts to sprout and you're like, oh wow, okay, I was actually doing something.
Yeah, it's a powerful message of the consistency, the quality, the education, and the information, right? And entertainment as well. I think putting it all together, and it's easy for people to say, hard to actually do in practice,
yes.
Right? And that's where it comes to, is doing it every day. And like when I was with you out in Vegas and you're talking about, like, I hit the gym every single day. It does not matter what is happening that day. I'm going to the gym. Like, I could tell that you meant it, yeah. Right? It's like, he's going to be there. It doesn't matter what's happening, travel, anything.
Hey man, you saw how quick I went up that dune.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And I barely trained cardio. I was surprised that I won. I was like, I was like, man, there's all these like super in shape guys here. There's no way I'm going to make it up to that top of that thing first. But I was like, deadlift competition, I got you. But like, yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
That was fun, man. That was fun.
And he flashed it. Super cool. I know we got to wrap up here. Zuby, any final message for the audiences?
Man, honestly, keep going. Seriously, keep going. It's so easy to be discouraged. It really is. Trust me, I've been there like thousands of times where you have those moments of like, oh my gosh, like, why am I doing what I'm doing? But just know your purpose, keep that front and center, and enjoy the process, and focus on the people as well. Really focus on people. If you genuinely are being of value and being of service to others, there's a lot of reward in that. And you will also eventually be financially rewarded for it because you build up a lot of goodwill. And if you kind of just give, then when you actually do ask people for something and you want them to support you, you'll get a lot of people who, they'll be wanting to buy from you.
Absolutely. Just keep giving value. Alex, anything else you'd like to say here as we wrap up? I feel like that message resonates with you.
No, that's awesome. I love it. It's all about consistency and giving as much value. If you keep giving value, it'll work out.
Yeah.
It'll 100% work out. So I love it.
100%. Penny, anything else for you?
Thanks for joining us, Zuby.
You're welcome, guys. I appreciate it. I hope it was valuable.
I echo the message. Yeah, this is really important stuff for people to hear and take in, and you got to believe it, right? And then put it into practice. And I think that everything you said, from taking the long-term approach, being consistent, giving value, talking to people, treating them as an audience, not an algorithm. It's a lot of powerful messages. Hope everybody enjoyed this episode of Tech and Tea featuring Zuby. We'll be back shortly. We have another huge guest coming up. I'm just going to tease that. Not saying any names just yet, but keep an eye out for future episodes. Thank you for tuning in for this one. We'll see you on the next. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, Zuby.
Peace, guys. Thank you.